bikers chased a female truck driver until her military dogs showed their training. The highway stretched endlessly under the roar of the engine of Olivia Carter's 18-wheeler. The sun was setting behind her painting, the sky in vibrant shades of red and gold. She adjusted her grip on the steering wheel, glancing at the two large boxes secured in the passenger seat of her truck. Inside were her most faithful companions, Thor and Shadow, two highly qualified military dogs. After 6 years of service in the Army as a dog handler, Olivia switched to work as a truck driver to travel the country and make a living. But although the battlefield was behind her, she never traveled unprepared. 2 Belgian Malinois were more than just pets to her. They were her family, her protectors, and her best defense. In an unpredictable world, she had just crossed the Texas border and pulled into a small truck stop to fill up with gas, stretch her legs, and let the dogs out for a short walk. Jumping out of the cab, she felt eyes on her. A group of bikers in leather vests covered in tattoos stood lazily next to their motorcycles. Their smirks and whispers caused a wave of anxiety in her. Olivia had faced unwanted attention more than once as a female truck driver, but something about this group made her instincts tense. She ignored them and unbuckled Thor and Shadow, jumping off. Their lean, muscular bodies tensed as they began to survey the area. Shadow, the darker of the two, let out a low growl as if he sensed the tension in the air. "Good dogs," one of the bikers shouted as he slowly approached. He was tall and broad-shouldered with a scruffy beard and a grin that didn't reach his eyes. "Are you sure a little girl like you can handle such a colossus?" Olivia met his gaze, not the drone. "Yes, I'm handling it just fine." Another biker, younger and thinner, chuckled. "Maybe you need a real man for—" "I'm driving. What do you say, honey? We'll buy you a drink inside." "I'm not interested," she said firmly. The men exchanged glances as they buckled up the dogs. Their amusement gave way to something more predatory. One of them stepped forward. His fingers twitched as if he wanted to grab her hand. "Well, don't be like that. We're just being friendly." Thor, sensing the change in his mistress's stance, tensed up, his ears pressed back, and his lips pulled back slightly. Olivia tightened her grip on the leash. I said, "I'm not interested. Move away instead of retreating." The main biker grinned wider, sharp-tongued. "Yes, I like this." She'd had enough. Olivia was patient, but she wasn't going to let the situation get worse. Zaidasha was on leashes and gave a quiet but firm command to guard. Thor and Shadow instantly sprang into action. Shadow lunged forward first, and with a deep, guttural growl, the biker jumped back, his self-confidence evaporating in an instant. Thor followed. Behind him, baring his teeth, his stance became hard and aggressive. The bikers backed away in a defensive gesture. Olivia stepped forward. Her voice was cold as ice. "They thought I was the only one here. They made a mistake. These guys are trained to eliminate threats much bigger and angrier than you. I advise you to get on your motorcycles and leave before they decide that you're more than just a nuisance." For a moment, the bikers hesitated. Then, as if having come to a silent agreement, they retreated, muttering curses under their breath. One of them threw her an angry look before climbing onto the motorcycle. The engines roared, and one after another they sped out of the parking lot, disappearing into the thickening twilight. Olivia slowly exhaled, watching them, then turned to the dogs. "Good boys," she muttered, kneeling down to pat their fur. Shadow let out a satisfied sigh, and Thor slightly wagged his tail, but his eyes were still watching the road in case they came back, taking them back to the truck. She glanced at the passenger side. the seat where the dog crates were. "Looks like I owe you two a steak for dinner," she said thoughtfully, smiling to herself. There was a long road ahead, but with Thor and Shadow by her side, she knew she would never be truly alone or defenseless, and that was all she needed as Olivia drove the truck back onto the highway. She kept an eye on the side mirrors. The bikers had disappeared for now, but something in her told her that this wasn't the end. She had encountered men like this before. A sound came from the passenger seat, as if she felt his tension. Olivia reached out and soothingly placed it behind his ears. Everything was fine. The boy was just a bunch of idiots. But an hour later, when the neon lights of a roadside diner came into view, her premonition became reality. The faint light of motorcycle headlights appeared in the rear-view mirror. Not one, or at least her grip on Rust Cilia. She, Thor, and Shadow both alerted her. She led them straight to where she planned to stop for the night, so in a split second, she made the decision to turn on. She turned the truck off the highway and into the diner parking lot, parking it next to a row of other trucks. It was a well-lit spot with a few customers inside, but not too crowded at this hour. As she got out of the cab, she heard the motorcycles of the WHA following her into the parking lot. The Caro group was hurrying, their boots crunching on the gravel as they headed toward her. She'd had enough, leaving the truck door open. She grabbed Thor's leash and unfastened it. He went into full alert mode, ears forward, eyes fixed on the approaching men. "Hey, lady!" the bearded biker shouted, spreading his arms as if greeting an old friend. "You hurt my feelings there. That wasn't very nice. Go away," Olivia warned. Her tone was even, and the adamant biker, the one who had giggled earlier, smirked, or that he was setting his shack on us again. Shadow was still in the truck and gave a sharp, threatening bark. The sound made the young biker flinch, but he quickly recovered, giving out forced laughter. The bearded man stepped forward. "Come on, we just want to talk." Olivia didn't have time for their games. With a smooth motion, she OTG Thor's leash and gave a quiet but blow protective. Thor didn't hesitate. He rushed forward in a controlled burst of speed, stopping a few centimeters from the lead biker. His powerful chest vibrated with a deep, warning growl. Teeth-bared eyes fixed on the target. The biker froze, his bravado evaporated in the blink of an eye. Hey, take him away." Olivia crossed her arms. "Not until you and your buddies get on your bikes and ride away." The rest of the bikers hesitated clearly, re-evaluating their chances. One of them muttered, "To hell, this man. It's not worth it." The bearded biker frowned, but slowly retreated crazy. Thor snapped his jaws. The sound was like a gunshot in the quiet night air. The biker didn't finish the sentence. Instead, he turned and walked to his bike one by one. The others followed the river. "Don't catch them." Olivia sighed, finally unclenching her fists. She knelt down next to Thor, hitting him on the head. "Good boy," Shadow whined from the truck, and she laughed. "Yeah, you're a big guy, too." Taking him back into the cab, she locked the doors and exhaled. This time, she was sure they wouldn't be back tomorrow. She'd be on the road again, another state, 1 mile closer to her goal. But tonight, she would sleep soundly, knowing her best friends had her back. With them by her side, no one would dare touch her again. When the bikers finally drove away, Olivia remained sitting in the driver's seat for a moment, letting the adrenaline subside. She ran a hand through her hair, glancing in the rearview mirror to make sure no one was left in the distance. Thor sat next to her, his sharp eyes still watching the road as if expecting a new threat. Shadow let out a quiet sigh from his Yuki. Back as he relaxed, the danger had passed. but their instincts never. Completely turned off. "Sun is fine, boys," Olivia muttered. "Let's rest." She pulled out of the diner parking lot onto the open highway, heading for a truck stop she knew was safe. Soon she found a well-lit rest area, where several other truckers were already standing on the knock privy. She moved into the sleeper cabin behind the seat. Olivia took off her shoes and sat on the edge of the bed. Thor jumped in next to her, resting his head on her lap. Ashido curled up at her feet. She sighed, rubbing Thor's ears. "You saved me today," she whispered. They had been with her through thick and thin during her military deployments on the long, lonely miles in Doro, and tonight when she was afraid of everything in them. Well, her and real danger. Thor let out a quiet, contented sigh and closed his eyes, trusting her enough to finally relax. Olivia leaned back on the pillow, looking at the ceiling of the cabin, knowing that sleep would come easily. Tonight, out here on the endless road, she was more than just a woman. In the truck, she was a warrior, and with her dogs by her side, she was invincible.